If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that's below made.
People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing.
Stand up and take on the greed and corruption of the ruling class of this country.
The billionaire class has been taking everything, and the working class has been left scraping, paycheck to paycheck, just trying to survive.
The police department, the FBI, the CIA, those are gangs. You know what I mean? The correctional office. America is the biggest gang in the world.
A solidarity which fears not foreign invasion, because it is bringing all the workers to the point when they will say to their masters, go and do your own killing. We have done it long enough for you.
It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Guys, gals, and in-between pals, welcome back to the Left 4 Dead podcast, that radical left-wing show that your crazy conservative uncle warned you about. As always, I'm Dane Snudden, and I'm joined by my other two co-hosts, the Chaos Queen herself, Emma Embers, with none of her Chaos friends today, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're a little boring. I'm still in my fairy hut, though.
And the woke uncle or wunkle, James Harris.
All her characters are figments of my imagination.
Including me. I'm also a figment of everyone's imagination. I don't actually exist. I'm just...
The figment of multiple imaginations. That's got to be.
I'm a lot of imaginary friends.
living in all of our heads rent-free. As
well,
always...
You know, it's the only housing that's affordable these days.
Yeah, really, honestly. I said that to I'm not going to name him at the risk of starting that whole thing again, but there's that local business owner that I was having a fight with. I had said that to him at one point. I was like, man, I'm so glad that you've made a commitment to support affordable housing by letting me live rent free.
Nice. That's a good comeback, Queen.
I have those every once in a while.
Yeah. We got news as always. We haven't had a special guest in a while. We will be having Fran on. I know we promised you guys we are looking at October 28th. So that would be the show that is released on Halloween. Ooh.
Yeah, we should tell her to come in costume.
So the Halloween episode will be Fran. And then we're going to have a couple other people. We've just been trying to line up interviews and that type of thing.
But you're stuck with us today.
Yes.
As per usual.
Correct. There are there's a few things we need to talk about. I think really the big thing has been all of the ICE resistance that's been happening. So we mentioned last week about deploying the National Guard to Portland. Portland is like the woke capital, right? Keep Portland weird, I think, is something that they say, but low key, like Portland seems pretty cool. I've never been there, but
everybody I know that's been to Portland is like, this is like they're never going to make people, which tracked because when Kristi Noem went over there and she was like on a rooftop with Benny Johnson looking down on everybody, like there was just like 10. They were like, look at this Antifa army, and there was like 10 people and one guy in a chicken suit, and it's like, yeah, no, that really helps you emphasize the picture of strength that fascists rely on.
I gotta say, because I've been banging on and on and on about civil disobedience is the correct method of action for this, and I've got to
positive
say,
as much as everybody, but I don't know that we need to mention that on the pod. Sorry, go ahead.
But I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of this inflatable outfits thing, just because it really screws with how they try and frame everything.
Which, if people explain what like the famous inflatable outfit was, in case people were watching.
Can you explain that for me?
The frog. So there was like a frog. There was a couple frogs, a T-Rex, an inflatable chicken.
Hippity hoppity, abolish private property.
And they were holding the line. Like they were getting right up in the police and ICE's face. I think one of them did like a spinning roundhouse kick like towards the administration that was there.
My favorite one was the guy in the frog costume that they actually tried to mace him through the face hole, but he didn't even notice it until later. He was like, yeah, no, I wasn't even really like, it didn't do anything.
But
Like,
keep
he was
going,
changing
James.
into a different frog costume, and that's when he noticed that he had been maced or attempted to be maced.
But so you see what happened is like ICE will deploy to an area, there'll be counter ICE protests, and the media will edit like what it looks like to fit whatever narrative they're trying to push. Like the left media will push like mostly like peaceful protests, maybe some road blocking. The right-wing media will make it look like an active war zone 100% of the time, but it doesn't look like an active war zone when you're a bunch of people in inflatable frogs. It makes the whole thing look unserious and like a clown show, and it's really, really difficult to cut the footage to make it look otherwise that way.
Right. The optics are on our side for something like that.
Even
'Cause-
Sam Cedar said that he doesn't normally like the whole idea of like protesting in costume stuff, but then he was like, I've actually changed my mind over the course of these ICE protests because these people have shown that actually it's a pretty freaking great tool.
Right. I mean, that's not to discount everything that's happening, right? Like, I saw a clip, ICE had maced an old Vietnam vet that had a walker, and he was walking like out of the protest, like with all the pepper spray coming down his face and everything. You know,
was
there's
an 85-year-old couple that they shot. A pastor got shot in the face with rubber bullets.
Yeah. So I think little things like having that frog are not only a great way to optically get the media like on our side, but also to have just something to kind of a little bit of joy in the chaos, I guess, if that makes sense.
That's what I always do. Find the joy in the chaos.
So I guess the question is, Emma, will there be an outfit that you wear for the No Kings protest coming up?
I'm thinking about it, but I don't think I have time to get one, honestly, because living paycheck to paycheck, so broke until payday, and payday is after the protest.
What you can do, just like take a woodman's bag, cut some eye holes in it, put it over your head, and then go as white trash.
Well, good point. That's a solid point.
I
I
did that.
follow Low Cost Cosplay on Facebook. If you don't follow them, totally follow them. They're hilarious. Basically does stuff like drawing a face on his stomach and then like taking a picture of it at the right angle where it kind of sort of looks like whatever he's tried to dress up as. Stuff like
You
that.
know,
It's pretty great.
this is going to be a nerd self-report, but
Yeah, but you're a nerd.
Right. The first thing that came into my head when you brought that up, James, was there's a couple Spider-Man comics where he wears a bag over his head.
Yeah.
That's what you were gonna.
The Spider-Man pointing meme.
Yes.
You.
But that being said, no, the second or third round, I think, second round of No Kings, like nationwide No Kings protests are happening. Global. Right. Are happening the 18th. So by the time this episode is out, you'll be able to watch it and then go to No Kings. I, for one, am very excited. There's going to be a huge turnout in the Green Bay area. There's 2 cities in the Fox Valley that are doing it. Estimated to be at least 1,000 people. The last one was pretty big. Emma and I were there. We'll be at the next one. Might have to live stream or something.
Might have to go on the roof at Safe Haven at some point because
while we are there, your boy's going to be speaking. So, maybe we can also get a clip of that. I have a 5-minute speaking slot. So,
yeah,
that'll
Nice.
be interesting.
We can upload that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and also, on semi-related news, the government is still shut down, and Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out as defending Obamacare.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. What do you guys
seems
think
like-
her, like, do you think, like, what do you think her aim is with that? Like, is she just trying to be a populist
a lot of people have said that she seems to have kind of woken up. Like the Israel stuff and the Epstein stuff kind of made her realize that she, like a little post-nut clarity, if you will, made her realize that MAGA is not the way to go. I don't think it's really that. Like, there is an element of opportunism in anything that these people do, but I think with her, it's actually more genuine than people are giving her credit for. I think she legitimately was like, wow, this is bullshit. Like, this is nothing like what, because I had the same experience. Like, grew up conservative, and then I realized that everything I
Me
was being
too.
taught was bullshit.
Right.
And like, for example, the fact that we supposedly need the Second Amendment as sacrosanct and untouched, no matter how many kids die, because we need it to fight tyranny. And then now those exact same fucking people are doing nothing except supporting the tyrants. So this is what we're living through right now, is the exact scenario where they said we need the Second Amendment for something, and they're not using it. So I don't know what that tells you. Well, they're using it against protesters, but that's not how they're supposed to use it. But that was slightly off topic. But yeah, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is legitimately coming to the light somewhat. She's still a shithead, but because, like, for example, her change of heart on Israel is based on the fact that she's a raging anti-Semite, not because she's suddenly realized that Gaza doesn't matter. Yeah. And the Epstein stuff, it was started. She's on that train because she was steeped in this QAnon stuff about the global pedophile ring. And so, and then when she realized that the guy that she supported this whole time is right at the top
the global pedophile ring.
Yeah, she was like, that's
I
weird.
am the Senate.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think she's realized that she needs a post-Trump future, and she needs to work on that before Trump kicks the bucket, which could honestly be any fucking day now at this point. So she's trying to set herself apart and aside from Trump to be like a new. There's gonna be a civil war in that cadre when Trump dies. So I think she's trying to set up her own faction to be pretty strong. Which, as much of a fundraiser as she is, she has a pretty reasonable chance of taking the standard on that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how the contradiction kind of exists between Republicans kind of seeing the light, and also, I mean, we've talked about on the show before how, she wasn't anti-Israel for the right reasons, right? So, like, this whole thing, like, obviously kind of cautiously optimistic about her splitting. Like, do I think she's going to become, like, a socialist? Like, no. But, like, like, it does kind of signal a little bit maybe where the Republican Party will be headed in the future.
Yeah. Well, and there's also 2 Republican governors, one of which is a total surprise, that are also criticizing Trump's putting the Texas National Guard into Illinois, specifically Chicago. Phil Scott is his name Phil Scott?
Rick Scott?
No. Oh God, no. Rick Scott. He's still a senator. He's not a governor yet.
Okay.
Well, the governor's coming out.
Phil Scott is the Republican governor of Vermont, which is not something I ever expected to say. He's not a surprise, though, because he's in Vermont, so I kind of expected him to be not quite as fashy. The one that's the surprise is Kevin Stitt, the governor of Oklahoma. He's the second governor that came out and was criticizing the Trump administration sending in the National Guard to Chicago.
Good old Trail of Tears, Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Kevin Stitt is a terrible person. Like, if you look at the shit he's done.
But I'd say that's actually not that surprising, because in the back of everybody's mind, there's an awareness, Trump is not going to live forever. At some point, there's going to be somebody from the opposite political party that takes power again. And if they start using these newfound presidential powers the exact same way Trump has been doing it, well, that's going to be horrifying for conservatives.
One would fucking hope.
The People's Republic of the United States.
Yeah. Republic of America.
Yeah, no, I mean, and obviously with the government shutdown, I think that just some of the stuff that's come out, like Trump saying that they were talking about back pay, and he was like, oh, if they deserve it. Like, there are, again, like, it's just so many of the things that they do goes against the family values like aspect that like dog, like these people have families, right? Like, you know, like they are working class, right? According to their relationship to the means of production, to get dirty, right? They are working class, right? Like it's just, oh my god. And then Christy Nome just said that the Coast Guard is still going to get paid.
Well, yeah,
because
they need
you
them
know
to blow up innocent Venezuelan fishermen.
right, yeah, they still need the arm of the state to function even when the government's shut down.
Yeah, this has been part of their. This is why, like, they didn't want the government shut down because it does actually limit a lot of what they want to do. But they weren't like, they were still like, if we do get a government shutdown, who the fuck cares? Because there's still stuff we can do. Like, it's completely illegal for them to be firing all these federal workers in the middle of a government shutdown. But they're doing it anyway because they've figured out that if the courts tell them no, who gives a fuck? Because who's going to stop them in that case?
Right.
And which is what they did with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They were testing the limits the entire time. Where every time the court said bring his ass back, they were like, "Oh, the plane already took off and is over the ocean, and it's not 2025. We have no ability to reach them anymore on ye old plane phone." And
Trump using a rotary phone is a funny mental picture.
And then, this is the thing I think is funny about them being stupid fascists is the fact that
there aren't intelligent fascists. They're always stupid.
I don't want to I realize that if I defend my point on there, I'm going to be kind of defending fascists, so I'm just going to let that one go.
Clipper.
But point being, these fascists are particularly uniquely stupid among fascists because they're trying to portray the image of strength thing that is key to fascists doing what they want to do. And they're utterly failing at it at every step because Trump always ends up going, I don't know what these people in my fucking administration's doing. I've kind of sort of heard about Ghislaine Maxwell. Don't listen to my past quotes. I had nothing to do with her being talked to. I didn't even know they were doing it. And like every time it's something he doesn't want to respond to, he always just says he has no idea what's happening. And it's like, first of all, that's not beating the dementia allegations. And second of all, it's not beating you are a strong man. You're actually not a strong man, I should say, type of figure. And then stuff like, oh yeah, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is in El Salvador. And we have the United States, the most powerful still currently at the moment.
Unfortunately.
The strongest country on the planet, who always can do whatever the fuck we want to do, but magically El Salvador of all countries is like, it would have been more believable if he was like, yeah, they went to China or Russia and we can't get him back. That would have been like, yeah, he might be telling the truth. Probably not, but he might be. But El Salvador, you're telling me we can't get this guy back from El Salvador? Okay, sure. And then the fact, by the way, during a government shutdown, we're bailing out Argentina and we're giving them $20 billion that could have been spent on Americans. And he used some of that, Javier Milei, the libertarian fascist that's in charge of Argentina, used some of that money to put on a concert where he could pretend to be a rock star. And he just sounds like Cookie Monster speaking Spanish. It's pretty great, actually. I've watched that clip multiple times because it is a little funny, but it's also an example of the contradiction behind them where they're always talking about America first, and yet they're still giving all this money to Israel, even though they're cutting massive amounts of money from the American people. They're giving this money to bail out fucking Argentina, but they won't use it to bail out our services and things that they claim are in shambles, which they're only in shambles because these fuckers defended them.
Yeah, but one of Trump's billionaire friends made a lot of money out of the Argentina bailout. So that is America first. That is an American getting richer.
Some Americans first.
Speaking of global issues, we have to at least talk about the ceasefire that was brokered in Gaza. There has been a lot of, and don't get me wrong, like it's a great thing for violence to be over there and hostages to get reunited. All right, families are getting reunited. 20 Israeli hostages that Hamas had were sent back, and around 1,200 Palestinian prisoners of Israel were sent back. But we're only hearing about the 20,
That's
obviously. Yeah. And obviously, you know, Trump is lauding it as a victory, right? That this is, you know, the peaceful dove. I ended another war, which it was a genocide, not a war, to be specific. And also, I might need to rant about this for a little bit. It's just so. It's something that I've said. I've said it on TikTok. I have said it, you know, in my personal life. Peace is the absence of violence, not the absence of oppression. Okay. The Palestinian people are still oppressed. Like Gaza is still leveled, basically, right? Israel is still, you know, in charge of what's going to go in and out of Gaza. Right?
They're only giving the Israeli military is still going to control half the strip.
Right, right, exactly. And so they're like, oh yeah, they're going back to their homes. It's like, bitch, what house? You know,
exactly.
like
those 5 rocks right there. Yeah, that used to be their house, but not anymore. What are they supposed to fucking do with that?
Right, and it's like something that I've said about like a 2-state solution in the past is it like, yeah, sure, you're gonna give them their own state and then just like send them to live in collective poverty together, like, you know, like,
well, and also the 2-state. Sorry, go ahead.
We know that material experiences is the number one thing that radicalizes people. So do you think Hamas is going to go away? No, they're not. As long as they're still being oppressed, there is still going to be violence. And unfortunately, I don't have high hopes that Israel's going to keep the ceasefire. Because they never have. And on top of that, sorry, one more thing. And on top of that, this is like the Palestinian liberation struggle winning. Israel said that they were going to keep going until they eradicated all of Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
They're still there,
eradicate
right?
all of Hamas? No, yeah.
Like, you know, this is in a way a dub for Hamas.
Yeah, it's not a dub. It's not losing.
Well, right, but for like a colonial force to win, they need to win. For a guerrilla force to win, they need to not lose, right? And like they didn't lose, right? This is,
or as Ant-Man said in when he was fighting Kang, I don't need to win, we just both have to lose.
wow.
No, I think
the worst MCU movie gets brought up.
I love that one. That was like my top 5.
Wow.
Isn't Morbius like the worst MCU movie?
Well, no, technically it's not an MCU movie because it's part of Sony. Like they're saying that it's sort of tangentially related, but it's not directly in the MCU because
I haven't actually watched it.
It's Morbin time.
What I hated was, brief aside, what I hated was that Kraven is one of my favorite comic book villains, and I wanted to hate his movie so bad because it's such a bad movie for Kraven. But if I pretend that it's not Kraven or like some Elseworlds version of Kraven, I actually kind of liked it. And I was like, by the end of it, I was like, I'm mad that I like this. But yeah, so back to the tragedy and not the funny movie superhero movie stuff. The 2-state solution thing was always bullshit, and I think the Democratic Party's response to the genocide of Gaza was kind of like revealing in that they never actually believed the 2-state solution nonsense that they were talking about. Because at the end, they had the perfect opportunity to actually push that with this situation. Joe Biden could have absolutely negotiated.
Multiple times they have.
Yeah. He could have absolutely negotiated for a 2-state solution and been like, all right, no, look, this is like the entire global community is behind us on this one. You're going to leave them alone, let them have their own state. You're no longer in charge of them and in charge of what goes in and out of there. But they didn't do that. They said, no, go ahead, keep doing it. In fact, here's more weapons and money for you. And this is the part where I have to say that somebody that I've been yelling at actually did good things. Tammy Baldwin.
Yes.
Has been actually on the good side of a lot of these bills, and I've been impressed with that.
I wonder why.
Yeah. It's almost like we like embarrassed the fuck out of her and chased her around everywhere she went until she was like, all right, fine. And I was kind of afraid.
1/3 of this podcast is Tammy Baldwin's sleep paralysis demons.
Yep, exactly. And one of the things that I didn't expect with her exactly was that I thought that with Trump winning again, she would be one of the Democrats that was trying to play the centrist role, but she's actually really not. Like she, I forget what the most recent thing besides the Israel stuff that she voted on that was really good.
Well, before we get too far into the weeds, I'll say that the peace plans put forth by Democrats are kind of bullshit, but I believe in the two-state solution.
I know we've talked about it before.
Just let me explain my reasoning, right? I think the key to actual Palestinian freedom is recognition as a nation state with the ability to enter into alliances so they can get international support to be harder to mess with. My critique of the single nation state is that no matter how you develop it, this is going to be a state that has the existing Israeli government in charge of it. They're not going to give up these rights. It's going to be the creation of an apartheid state where Palestinians have very little to no political power, basically exactly what it is today.
Yeah,
you got to remember where the wealth and the power is concentrated, and it's not in Palestinian hands, and that's going to maintain itself through any structural reform. Like you look at South Africa, apartheid ended in the 90s, and it's still like whites own 97% of land, despite being a minority. Like that is like we still haven't shaken off the effects of the Jim Crow era, and that was the 1960s, and like those inequalities are still really, really prevalent. So I think the only way to really, it's not going to completely fix it, but I think the best way forward is a clean break. Like you have to give this specific group of people charge of their own destiny, and like you're going to need like international cooperation agreements to make sure they maintain that control of their own destiny. But that is, I think, the closest thing to equal you're ever going to get. Now, that being said, I do think a lot of the proposed two-state solutions are unserious and bullshit, and like just the kind of things that politicians are doing to be seen doing something.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the biggest thing for me for a two-state is that I don't have any faith that Israel's going to respect that. I mean, they invaded Egypt before. They've invaded Syria, like southern Syria. Like they do not care about sovereignty at all. And so then when you put them, them being on the coast, right? There's allegedly a lot of aquifers around the West Bank and Gaza. I don't have any sort of faith that Israel would respect that as a state, because they're just going to pull the same shit that they're doing now. They're going to be like, yeah, they're militant, Islamic jihadist, whatever. And then they're going to start bombing them again. I do think that what you're saying is valid. I just think that there are instruments and tools that we could have if we lived in an ethical global order where we could facilitate a secular state that would have shared governance, like maybe some sort of proportional representation or something like that.
Well, yeah, but you'd need an aggressive international you need an aggressive international. Yeah, you need an aggressive intervention. You need like a foreign intervention. Like we're pretty much the only ones that could pull that off, and I do not see us aggressively intervening in Israeli politics anytime soon. Which is so. I guess that's why I'm a two-stater, is because that's why I see the most practical path. You get recognition of Palestinian statehood. Palestine enters in a couple alliances, makes, I don't know, their kind of version of NATO, like a group of Middle East Arab states that stick together against that. But
United Arab Republic, baby, bring it back.
But I think, and that's the most plausible, because Donald Trump is eroding U.S. world power on an unprecedented scale. So that means that America is not going to be the country that everybody's afraid to say no to for forever. So thank you, Trump, for that, I guess.
Speaking of which, one thing we did not talk about that I want to get y'all's perspective on. Also,
I just wanted to finish the little thing I was saying about Tammy Baldwin because I got the answer. It's the National Defense Authorization Act for this year that she voted against, which is awesome.
Yes, 1 out of 10 Democrats, surprisingly. Extremely rare W for Tammy. As I was going to say, 2 things. Number 1, if you want to listen to more me and James talking about one state versus two state. My YouTube channel, The Danger Zone on YouTube. There's a whole video of us on UWGB's radio station.
It was
It's
a
like
good
an
debate.
hour and a half long. We're talking about that. Highly recommend. It got copyrighted. Thanks UWGB for that. But second, there is now a Qatari Air Force base in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all hear about that?
I'm pretty sure that's James can always fact check me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty
The
sure
same
that's
people
the
that
first
gave Trump
time
a plane.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the first time that we've allowed a foreign government to put a base on U.S. soil.
Okay, so it is.
It's not an actual base. It's like they're doing like training exercises, I think, right? Just to predict
Okay.
a quick check.
So there's two things. First of all, Jared Kushner and I think Kristi Noem, right? Hold on, I'm gonna fact check myself.
DHS is Kristi Noem.
She's like my least favorite Trump official. No, I'm sorry. Stephen Miller is technically my least favorite Trump official, but Kristi Noem is also an animal murderer. So, incidentally, the Inhumane Society of Green Bay totally follows in her footsteps. As
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
I just think that in.
I can't remember who one of Trump's leading officials was registered as a Qatari foreign agent, and Trump's family is making an absurd amount of money with deals with Middle East countries, which
Like
is
the Saudis.
yes, which is not very transparent. It's basically like open government corruption, but it's not really a Qatari base. It is an American base that we are going to train allied troops at, which is nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Israeli forces come to the U.S. to surprise, train a lot of our police forces.
Yeah,
it's just I think it's solely the fact
it's the
hypocrisy and also the fact that they gave him a plane. Like that is an obvious conflict of interest, in my opinion. Also, I might be the king of transitions today. Conflict of interest. Yeah. The Nobel Peace Prize. Donald Trump did not win. But
however,
he's happy because the person that ran likes Trump, or the person that won likes Trump, right? Let me get her name pulled up here.
I know the last name is Machado.
Yes, and I know that she is part of the opposition, the right-wing opposition in Venezuela. Maria Corina Machado.
Yep. This is one of those cases. Sorry, this is one of those things that I like to rant about. This is one of those cases where people on the left-ish side were very quick to jump up and say like, it's good that they didn't give it to Trump and they gave it to her instead. But that was right before she dedicated the award to Trump and said that he's doing great things with Venezuela. And the things that he's doing with Venezuela thus far is murdering innocent fisher people who are just doing their fucking jobs. And so they gave her this award. They said she's a champion of democracy. And then she
supports regime change by the U.S.
So now all these people that have been saying good things about her winning it instead of Trump have egg on their face and have just helped normalize this kind of bullshit, which is great. So, I mean, they might as well have given it to fucking Trump because it's just as good either way.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing, she's like made open calls that like oil companies need to come in and completely privatize the oil in Venezuela because it's nationalized now, which is what, one of the things Trump doesn't like. Surprise, surprise. But yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and simp for Maduro because I don't believe I fully believe that criticisms aside, I think when we simp for dictators too hard, it hurts the cause.
Yeah,
I'm also
valid.
just because I'm not gonna say that it's like a completely unworkable system of government. It works for China pretty well, but it's not gonna work for us. Americans are too stubborn. I'm not gonna sit here there's some valid criticism of Maduro. I'm also not going to sit here and simp for the right-wing opposition that wants regime change here, but I will say that is a politically savvy move. Like, you won the Nobel Peace Prize. The first thing you do is you stroke the ego of the person that can help you accomplish what you're trying to do. And, Trump is very, very vulnerable to getting his ego stroked. You notice that, like, anytime a country wanted something out of the United States lately, they've been nominating Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, I know. It's funny how, like, all that stuff, I mean, we've talked about Teflon Don, right? It still works in his favor. Like, dude,
I still maintain that the only thing that won't is death. Like, if he somehow manages to never die, I will eat my shorts. But I find that entirely improbable. However, if it did happen, I wouldn't be terribly surprised, because at this point, why the fuck not?
It's gonna be like that.
Who cares?
It's gonna be like that Futurama episode where Nixon's like head is preserved. And
the Cubbies.
Yeah.
It's no surprise he's knocking on death's door, and now this term he's in bed with all the transhumanists.
Speaking of trans, segue.
Nice transition.
Back to reasons why Gavin Newsom fucking sucks. He has been kind of like masking this behind other good legislation that he's passing, but he has refused to sign at least 5 pro-trans bills that would protect trans people from Trump and stuff in California, and outright vetoed one of them with some bullshit justification. And that was one that would have protected trans kids' healthcare. He was basically trying to argue that, like, because it says that it does for adolescents, that it's inappropriate. But it, again, as we've established millions of times, all transition for kids under 18 means is sometimes puberty blockers when they get old enough, so that way they
which
don't
are
have
reversible.
puberty, which are reversible. And also, I had wrong puberty, so I would much rather have had that option when I was a kid, so I could have had right puberty. But that and social transition, which is just changing their names and pronouns, dressing the way they want to, and seeing how that goes. Ironically, they would probably have fewer trans people if they actually allowed for social transition during youth, because if more kids if more kids test it out while they're growing up, as kids are supposed to do with this kind of shit, more of them would be able to determine by the time they reach 18 whether or not they actually want to be transition or not. And I've known plenty of people that were like, it seems like something that's for me. And then they try it out and they're like, actually, nah, not really. And that's fine. We love that. Like, the only detransers we don't like are the ones that side with the Nazis. But I think, like, it's just having an awareness that it's kind of like the sex ed in K through 12 argument. They always treat it like, Republicans always treat it, when you talk about it, as if we're talking about, like, showing a 5-year-old how to put a condom on a banana, or showing them porn or something. But all it means is teaching them at that age. It's age appropriate. It always says age appropriate. And what that means is, for example, kids in kindergarten, preschool, 1st grade, 2nd grade, teaching them the proper terminology for the parts of their body, so that way when the creepy uncle touches them at Thanksgiving, they don't say, he touched my cookie, and it's like, oh, well, that's unfortunate, here's another one. It's like, it's actually telling what's happening, so that way it can be addressed and not just allowed to fester for a decade or more.
And the sociological claims are valid, but I'd just like to hit on another point with this. You'd have a better argument for a lot of these policies if they worked. Like, if, like, the abstinence only education, if the keep the sex ed out of the schools, keep it the parents' responsibility actually worked, well, then why are red states, like, consistently the highest in teen births? Like, why, if you have a really obnoxious non-traditional name, chances are you come from a conservative state, because it's younger parents that name their kids these kind of things. Like, you got to go with the data and what works.
Yep. And that's kind of that's to me, like, that's the whole thing that underpins the entire conservative ideology, is it's always just whatever is convenient and expedient for whatever they happen to feel at the time. Like the whole thing about trans people have existed forever, but Caitlyn Jenner came out and they were like, I am now suddenly aware of this one trans person. So from now on, I'm going to believe that trans people only started existing when Caitlyn Jenner came out. And so they're like, you know, it's only come up in the last few years. And it's like, no, actually, we were the first people the Nazis came after the first time. And now we were, again, one of the first people that they came after the second time. So, yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, I think hit the nail on the head as always. There's a lot of overlaps with a lot of their policy prescriptions on things, and you know, so-called fact-based policy. Or I always think it's funny when they're like, "This is common sense."
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's not.
Is that why you have to twist yourself into pretzels to justify it? Because it's so common?
Well, and you know, you two have studied various things in school. Like even if it appears simple and it appears intuitive, reality does not always work in simple, intuitive metrics. There are plenty of times.
It rarely does, if I'm being honest.
There's plenty of times, like even the most well-intentioned policy, like has these crazy amounts of unintentioned backlash. Like the best thing on earth can backfire in ways that you never suspected, and
socialism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like look at it. Like socialism, communism is like an objectively better system than what we've got now. But every time we've tried to do it, it hasn't worked for one. You know, you don't end up with communism; you end up with state capitalism.
I would like to bring up the point that I brought up last time about it, which is that I think the issue with that is, first of all, they aren't allowed to run without interference from Western governments.
Facts.
And second of all, they because Marx never actually finished developing communism, because he never really wanted to develop his own system in the first place. He just wanted to have a what's the word I'm looking for? An intellectual framework on which to judge and fix the current system and replace it with anything that will accomplish the goals that he set forth in the Marxist ideals. But he didn't actually want to develop his own system. And then when people were like, come on, give us an alternative, he was like, all right, fine, here's communism. And then died before he got to finish developing it. So everybody that wants to implement communism after him kind of has to add to it to fill in the gaps where they can. And
it's going to look different everywhere you are.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
because
why
other people are going to understand and interpret things differently because he wrote
and
it
their
in Europe
material
and their-
conditions are different too. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not going to look the same here as it, you know, looked in the USSR and in China, and like
I
know,
think
that type of
just
thing.
like capitalism looks different here than it does in most other places in the world too.
I think there's a fundamental reason that's like a little bit more simple, but a little more insidious. I think that to really make a comment, insidious. Yes, thank you.
Insidious.
Insidious.
How's it feel to be fact checked, bitch? I'm just kidding.
Wow.
You know, I deserve it.
Grammar police over
Yeah.
here.
Thanks for not saying grammar Nazi.
I would never
I was
call
try-
you that.
I wasn't good. I was trying to come up with something clever and grammar related, but I think the problem is to make like a really advanced socialist or communist adjacent society, you need someone to establish it, and that someone to establish it has to be in power because they don't want anyone to be in power, and that person, and you don't get to that position without loving power in the first place. So by the time someone's in a position to make these reforms, they're usually not the person that's willing to do so. And if they are willing to do so, it's for the wrong reasons.
And we happen to live in a capitalist global order too.
And
So it's-
capitalism is incredibly, incredibly competitive. It's the one thing that it's good at, and it's really good at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why like
our China discussion needs to happen.
Yeah.
China discussion needs to happen.
Next week, China discussion. Let's do it.
That's why I always say just
If we don't have a special guest next week, we'll be
brief
China
little
Con.
final point from me was that oh fuck, I lost it.
Damn.
Oh no. Okay. So one of the arguments that they always make in favor of capitalism is that it breeds innovation and it does it better than everything else. But then I think the best example of how that's bullshit is looking at
Space race.
Well, that too, but
Yeah, but who won?
We did, or USSR.
well,
did.
technically we cheated if we even actually. I mean, there's
Whoa!
I'm just saying, it's not-
Whoa.
I'm willing to believe that over some of the other shit that they come up with, but I do believe we went to the moon. I should just reiterate that.
Okay.
Which is flat.
Although it is not an entirely irrational argument to make that they faked it initially just to win, and then afterward we were actually able to do it. Like we were behind them up until that point.
Well,
We were like,
it
"Fuck
is an irrational argument to make because it's wrong, but
Well, okay, fair enough. But point being, the capitalism breeds innovation argument can be kind of done away with purely on the basis of big pharma, because it's not big pharma that develops these life-saving treatments and drugs and everything else. It's the NIH and other organizations like them that's funded by our tax dollars. And then the big pharma companies come in, buy the patents, and then jack up the prices on this shit to high heaven to the point where we can't afford it, and we have to go through these stupid insurance middlemen. So the innovation that capitalism breeds is really just the innovation for people that are already wealthy, and in the very rare circumstance where somebody manages to become a self-made billionaire. It just makes it to where it's easier for them to continue advancing their own wealth and power. And that's pretty innovative, I guess.
it's
Emma,
snowballs.
You
I'm
have
gonna-
forgotten one thing this episode.
I didn't forget it. I was
former
waiting.
governor of California. You know, you could have easily tied in while we were shitting on Newsom.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I could have. I would have been like, and you know who else is a shitty governor of California? Ronald fucking Reagan. Fuck that guy.
Okay.
There we go. We needed
There
that.
we go.
I'm going to say that capitalism absolutely does breed innovation, but it does, which makes it tend to outcompete socialist systems. But a lot of that is progress for its own sake.
Mhm.
A lot of that isn't like necessary and needed, and then like you get a lot of problems and inequalities caused by massive expansions of things. So it does breed innovation, which makes it more effective as long as your morality is money.
Yeah, right. Innovation at what cost?
Well, and that
But-
shows with the Nazis too, because like all of these billionaires are falling over themselves to try and appeal to Trump. By the way, brief aside, just adding to that, the Epstein files, one of the names that they said that the Senate Democrats were able to confirm, or excuse me, House Democrats were able to confirm was in there, was a Canadian billionaire. The only Canadian billionaire that I know
like,
the name of
fucking-
is Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank, and that guy's
Fuck
an
Kevin
asshole.
O'Leary.
So,
Yeah, fuck
fuck
Kevin
that guy.
O'Leary.
Anyway,
It
fuck
could
Kevin
also-
O'Leary and Ronald Reagan. They're both going to be pegging each other in hell. I don't know.
It could
Which Trump will not
be-
be in. He said that he will not. Or sorry,
We're not
he
pegging
will
each
No, he
other in
will.
heaven.
He will be.
He's got the executive suite down there.
Trump makes me wish the afterlife was real. It could, well, because we know Elon Musk is on the list,
Mhm.
and didn't he
Which
come
is
from
ironic
Canada?
because he was like, Trump's on the list. And
He's
it's like,
South
so are you,
African.
asshole.
Remember Elon Musk like 10 years ago? There was a mission to rescue a bunch of kids stuck in a cave, and he called one of the rescue divers a pedophile.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Again, every accusation is a confession with these fuckers.
But we could obviously, as always, continue the show.
We have to
We will
participate in
do-
capitalism.
Yes, we
You
will
guys
do.
I have the day off.
Well, I did have to, but
I'm going to
we-
school.
Yeah,
So actually, none of us.
I have 2 kids to feed 'cause
I
I am
guess-
now a mom. So
That makes me the closest to participating in capitalism. I'm participating in capitalist training, but
Yeah, Emma and I might actually go get protest materials today. So,
Yeah.
I can
That being
wait for the
said-
semester to be over so I can join you guys at more protests and stuff.
woo,
Gender
Yes, that
neutral
being said,
guys. Whenever I
no-
say guys, I mean gender neutral version.
dudes.
No Kings, 18th, 3 o'clock, Joanne's Park in Green Bay. Be
Are we
there.
going to have this out by the 18th?
Yes, we will be there or be square.
I'm glad you said square because I was trying to figure out what the hand signal was. I was like, are we doing our own gang signs? Be careful because they're coming for
Yeah,
us.
the squares.
Our house is about to be fucking predator droned. Sorry, I heard a whistling. I wasn't sure what it was.
Okay. But yes. As always, get active, get wise, get organized.
Buy frog costumes and free Luigi.
Yes, free Luigi,
Free
free
Luigi,
Palestine, fuck
free
ice.
Palestine, fuck ice, and fuck Ronald Reagan and Gavin Newsom.
And what about the other Emma quote?
Stephen Miller?
No, has to do with the goblin.
Oh,
Something
yeah.
about a
Steve
garbage
Martin,
There we go.
eat your
Please.
vegetables.
No.